of Tech Talk with Heliocentrix. I'm John and this is James.
Hello.
And we're here today to give you a few updates on what's been happening in the world of AI and Microsoft Copilot in the last week, and then to give you a couple of quick demos. Hopefully we'll get that all finished in under 15 minutes. So, news this week, big one is that Microsoft has released a new version of Copilot suited specifically for small businesses called Copilot 365 for Business. This looks to be about £80 a year cheaper than the full 365 Copilot, but it is still a yearly commitment. We only got the prices first thing this morning, and we know that there is going to be some discounts if you include the license with the likes of Business Standard, Business Premium, and that there are promotions going on until the early part of 2026. But once we've had a chance to digest this, we will be updating you all in our email or in future podcasts.
Yeah, I think one thing just to note is that obviously this is a lower level license. So we are anticipating there might be some feature and functionality differences between this new license and the previous one. But as I say, John said, once we've got our heads around it all, we'll be happy to share that with you.
Okay. In other news, computer use is a feature where AI can actually use either your computer or a virtual computer to fulfill some of its tasks. We've seen in the last week the computer use option has started to appear in the research agent. The idea of this, I think, is that it can then interact with websites in a different way from just crawling for data. And I'm sure this will open up new opportunities for researcher, which is already a really useful agent and possibly one that I use the most after just the basic Copilot. We are finding there will be some computer use coming to other areas. It's something we're both interested to try out because it should open up the ability for AI to be able to interact with websites and applications that do not have APIs and connectors already pre-built. So it should be pretty exciting times. Also, I have over the last week been spending a lot more time working with agents, creating agents to work with some of our different software and interacting with Microsoft To Do, which oddly is not a feature that's pre-built into Copilot, but we've got that almost ready. So as soon as I'm happy with that, we will bring that to you in another episode. Likewise, I'm also working on one to work with Zero, so we'll see if we can get that working and bring that to you all in the future.
Okay, next up, we are just wanting to run through a few key terms within the AI space. We know that last week, for example, we were talking a lot about the new models that came out and had been released by various companies. But a lot of people, AI is still new to them. So we realized that we wanted to try and give a bit of an explanation around how the different pieces of the puzzle all fit together and some of those keywords that we might be using throughout these podcasts. So essentially, there's three layers or levels to the AI industry as it goes at the moment. The top level at the top is all of the various companies that are building these AI models. So the most well-known one of those at the moment is called OpenAI, and you probably would have heard of those. They are the creators of ChatGPT. But there are other competitors out there. Anthropic is one. X, formerly known as Twitter, also have XAI, which are creating their own models. Facebook are also working on theirs, and there's a few others as well. So the companies are, as I say, they're the companies that create the AI models, and each of them has their own models with different names. So OpenAI, theirs are generally all called GPT. So previously they had GPT-4. A couple of months ago, they released GPT-5, and then about a week or 2 weeks ago, they released GPT 5.1.
5.1 Pro as well.
5.1 Max, yeah, there's a few different versions of them. But essentially, if you think of the models as the piece of software that they are developing, that is the AI at the moment. They are going to continue to iterate on them and develop them further and release new models as they try to make them more powerful, more useful, and better at what they're designed to do. Now, the final piece is the bit that sits on top of the models. So for OpenAI, that is ChatGPT. And for a lot of people, ChatGPT is AI as we know it right now. That's their first interaction with AI. And that is essentially, ChatGPT is essentially just the interface that allows you to interact with the models that sit beneath it. So as OpenAI release new models, they update the model that powers ChatGPT. And sometimes there's various models powering ChatGPT at the same time, depending on licenses or which model is best for the task at hand. So how that fits into Copilot is that Microsoft obviously sit at company level. And while they are or have recently been building some of their own models, they had previously only been using OpenAI and OpenAI's models to power Copilot. Recently, in the last month or 2 months, they've now signed a deal with Anthropic, who's another AI company, whose models are all called Claude, to bring Claude into Copilot as well. And what we're seeing is that it looks as though that Claude model is being used predominantly to power some of the new agents, so the Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint agents that are coming into Copilot. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more clarity on what we're talking about when we say there's been a new model released or there's a new company.
So as part of an update, last week we spoke to you all about notebooks and how notebooks can be used inside Copilot to collect together different types of content and have a conversation about it. And one of the things we said we are really looking forward to is the time when Microsoft allows you to share those notebooks with somebody else. And in perfect fashion, last week, the new feature dropped along with a changed interface. And we just wanted to just show you the new screens.
Yeah, so here we have the new notebooks interface. So if anybody has been using notebooks already, what you'll see is that this is quite a big change, and I think a positive one. I think it's going to make notebooks even more useful and collaborative. So over on the left-hand side, we now have all of your created content. So that's any conversations that you've turned into pages. They will all sit there. Below that, we have all of the references. So references are the files and documents that you've added as sources into the notebook.
I quite like the suggested references, which are AI generated. The few notebooks I've used in the last week, it's actually picked up references that really should have been in the notebook in the first place.
Yes, yeah. So it's essentially Copilot is looking through your 365 to find documents that it thinks are relevant and then suggesting them for you. Now, in the center, what we have here is essentially what you're working on. So this would be the page that you're currently viewing or the reference that you're having a look at. You'll also notice that when you first open a notebook now, you will get an overview. And that is an AI generated summary of what's going on in the notebook. So here we've got a brief summary and then some key insights. I think this is going to be quite a useful tool, especially as more people begin collaborating together on notebooks. It'll enable you to get a quick snapshot of things that have changed.
It's going to be really interesting to see how this compares to having shared conversations in Microsoft Teams versus notebooks in M365 Copilot.
Absolutely. And then on the right-hand side, we have your chat window. So this enables you to have conversations about the references, ask questions, get Copilot to summarize information or generate new content. And what we've found as well is that actually this can now interact directly with the content on screen. So previously you'd have to copy and paste anything out of the chat window into a page, but now this chat window can edit content directly on the page.
Remember, the main reason for doing all this and putting all the content in one place is that it builds what's called context, so that the answers you get from AI will constantly be getting smarter and more appropriate for your business and for what you're trying to achieve, rather than it just having to look through everything possible. It'll know what to use. So like in this example, we've got our tone of voice document when we're doing marketing and our strategic planning that associates with it.
And of course, the final most important thing that you're all wanting to know is how do you add people to your notebooks? So you simply go to this button here in the top left-hand corner, click on that, and it will give you another button to invite and manage users of the notebook. And then you'll be able to add people in and start working collaboratively.
Excellent. So what you might find with anything to do with Copilot is that the features won't instantly be available. They take time to roll out. Microsoft doesn't roll them out to everybody at once. Even myself and James sometimes get features at different days.
Yep.
But we do know that that is coming. And so hopefully seeing this now will prepare you for when that does come. And if you haven't tried notebooks, then I really would suggest start by creating at least one notebook this week. Either business strategy or marketing are two good places to get started. So following on from that, another feature that is new to Copilot that we've been exploring with a couple of clients over the last few weeks is workflows. Now, workflows is an agent that has been built by Microsoft. It is available within the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. It is currently called Workflows Frontier, and that is because it is in trial and it's just being tested by some people before it's rolled out to all users. Now, the purpose of workflows is to be able to talk to an AI about a process that you want it to follow. So I'll give you an example in a minute of how I create a workflow that runs every day at 7 a.m, tells me what's going on in my diary, checks for any urgent emails, then sends me a Teams message with it. Now, all I had to do with this is actually, I think I probably stole part of Microsoft's default brief, and then I edited it for myself. But when you go into the Workflows agent, you can just basically type in and describe what you want to do. Now, all of this was possible previously through the Power Automate platform, but it usually required you to have some developers or technical knowledge or work with someone like us to help piece that together. Whereas now Microsoft has opened this up and made it truly open to any level of user to start building workflows that might help them with their work.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things we're seeing with AI and Copilot is that it's really reducing that barrier to entry and reducing the costs as well, making things possible for small businesses that wouldn't have been possible before.
Exactly. I mean, creating a workflow like this might have taken a few hours to do in the traditional sense, which would have cost money, whereas now anyone in the business can go in, write this prompt out of what they want to do, and get this working in a short period of time. And just to show you, this is the message I get every morning. It tells me part one is the weather. I often, when I have daily updates in the past, have asked it to include the weather, and this was a limitation with the current version of workflows, but I would assume this is going to change in the future. And then just gives me a summary of calendar appointments and high priority and Teams messages. So it's a great new feature. And as I said, if you want to try it out, go into Microsoft 365 Copilot, go to that option for all agents, and then you should be able to browse through them and find workflows.
Okay, so there's one last thing that we wanted to show you, and that is we're just going to pop over to Gemini here. And this is, given that it's nearly Christmas, we thought of a nice fun activity that you can use AI for. And this will generally work with most of the AI tools, whichever one is your favorite, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or a different one. We did try it in Copilot. It didn't work brilliant
at all, did it really? No.
So I would recommend maybe going direct to Gemini or ChatGPT for this one. But essentially what we wanted to do was create a personalized coloring in sheet for a child. So we started off with this picture of Santa Claus, and we gave Gemini the prompt to convert it into a colouring in template using thick, bold lines, and then we let it know who we wanted it to be appropriate for. And Gemini went away and created us a really simple colouring in sheet. But we weren't finished there because we decided that actually this is a little bit too busy and we don't want it quite so much in there. So we asked Gemini to remove everything in the background apart from Santa. And this is a really good example of how models have come along in terms of their instruction following. Because with that one simple prompt, it removed everything in the background and just left Santa Claus. So we'd be able to print that off and give it to a child and they'll be able to colour that in.
And of course, you don't have to use pictures of Santa Claus. You can just use any old picture that you've got taken. It can even be a picture, I suppose, of you, your family or whatever, and just get AI to actually update that and make it more interactive for them and actually give them something to do over Christmas.
Yeah.
So that's it for today. That's everything we wanted to cover. Next week, we are hoping to do a bit more about AI policies and around the compliance aspect of it, because there is a lot of things to consider regarding data security. But for now, it's been great having you listening to us, and speak to you again. Thank you very much.